The question I wanted to raise was, why is Air Force a considerable favorite on a neutral field? Because they're playing in Arlington. They're playing at 10:30 local time, as though it's a CYO football game on a Saturday in the fall. I don't understand why they're playing this game so early. That aside, Army money line plus 225 in this game. Listen, Air Force in the last month they lost. They beat Navy by 3. Navy stinks. So they were in a one possession dogfight with Navy. They lost to Utah State, who's not good this year, and they scored 14 points total against Boise State, despite having the most explosive passing offense. Blah blah blah. I got sucked in. That's on me. Hand up, my fault. Army, meanwhile, this season, they came within an overtime loss of knocking off UTSA. I think the whole narrative on their season might be different had they won that game. I mentioned they scored 90 points in the last 2 weeks. Doesn't matter in this game, but at least their offense is functioning properly. They've won 4 of the last 5 in this series, and the last 4 have all been played within 4 points. So I agree with your overall narrative on the game. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to come down to which team makes the mistake and puts the ball on the carpet and the other team picks it up. And to me, it makes it closer to like a 55-45 kind of coin flip situation. So to get north of 2-1 on my money, I'm going to go ahead and take the carbon copy team. I understand the Air Force has some better pieces at quarterback and with Roberts, in that fullback position, taking a lot of carries, but not enough to feel like they should be prohibitive favorites. I think in some books they're minus 300 on the money line. I think that's ridiculous. So I'll go ahead and take the underdog here in Arlington. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. There's going to be lots of fans from both schools, lots of energy for the Commander-in-Chief Cup. So I'm just going to go ahead here and take the boys from West Point and hope for the best.
Normally I hate the fact that you take touchdown underdogs despite having yet to hit one all year. Like, come on, Calabrese, let's take a layup here. Let's just make a layup first before we start launching from half court. I don't actually hate it in this spot because, kind of like I said, there's going to be 20 points scored in this game. So that plus 250 goes a lot longer and is a lot more valuable in a game that, do I think Air Force is a better team? Absolutely. But I think this game is going to be 14-17 anyway. So, you might as well have the plus 250 in your pocket. Hope, Air Force misses a field goal and Army converts a 4th down. That's kind of what these teams do. So I actually don't hate you swinging big. Look, I'm taking Houston plus 130 at SMU. Tanner Mordecai didn't play last week after suffering concussion week 8. Preston Stone started, but he broke his collarbone. He's now out for the year. Now, I am assuming Mordecai is going to be back, but ever since Sonny Dykes and Garrett Riley left for TCU, who, by the way, now have the most explosive offense in the country, the SMU offense has understandably dropped off. Last season, Mordecai threw 39 touchdown passes, completed just 68% of his passes. This year, he's thrown only 16. He's completing 60% of his passes. Now, the offense is still explosive, but they're just 83rd in success rate. And if you watch this team, which I have more than I care to admit, they really struggle to run the ball, and their entire offense is Rashee Rice. It's like unbelievable how much they throw to him. He has 62 catches this season. The next closest receiver has 17. That's one of the most, I would argue it's probably, without looking it up, the biggest difference of any team in the country. And while, yes, we have given up on Houston as a New Year's Six contender and even an AAC championship contender, they're still 5-3. They're still 3-1 in conference play. And their only loss was to Tulane by 3 in overtime. And they outgained them by over 100 yards. Since then, they won 3 in a row. And my God, is Clayton Tune dialed in right now. He has 21 touchdowns this year, just 4 interceptions. Over the last 3 games, he's averaging 338 yards with 12 touchdowns over that stretch. He has been the AAC Offensive Player of the Week in each of his last 3 games. They have their own stud receiver in Nathaniel Dell that he can match Rice. He can go big play for big play, just like Rice can. But they are a little more deep. Guys like Keshawn Carter, Samuel Brown, they both been playing really well. A huge key for Houston is running back Tayshaun Henry could return this week. Initially, Hogerson thought he was going to return against USF. He didn't end up making it back. But freshman Stacy Snead has actually come on strong the last 2 weeks. And yeah, the Houston defense isn't that good, but neither is SMU's. And the Mustangs get no pressure. So Tune should have all day to throw the ball. And pressure is really the only thing Houston does really well on defense, which probably isn't great for a quarterback coming off a concussion. Yeah, the best pass rush in the nation. So, yeah, Rashee Rice is a stud, but Houston corner Art Green is 6'2", 200 pounds. He's just as big as Rice is. He's allowed less than 40 yards per game against him. He's yet to allow a touchdown catch. Opponents are averaging just a 52% completion percentage on Green this year. So, look, I would have never said it last year, but I just trust Tune more than I do Mordecai right now. And I think Houston has a good recipe to pull off this win against SMU.
I think this is absolutely a zombie Houston situation. We wrote them off. They were dead. They had no chance in the AAC. They now, I have to check some of the matchups. I'm not sure if they 100% control their own destiny, but if they win out, I think there's a better than 50-50 shot that they could end up in that 2 slot because Tulane still has to play Cincinnati and UCF. So Tulane could knock both of those teams down, and then Houston could end up as the only team with 1 loss outside of Tulane, who's undefeated in AAC play. So everything's there in terms of motivation for them. And I agree with the Tune versus Tanner Mordecai comparison because honestly, Mordecai just hasn't been the same guy. And to be fair to him as well, it wasn't just Rice last year. They had so many weapons. They had Bentley the fourth in the backfield. They had all these different pieces that ended up either leaving the portal or exhausted their eligibility. And it's clear when he drops back to pass, it's a one read offense now. And I'm kind of with you. Houston was supposed to have one of the best G5 defenses. Doug Belk, the $1 million man in the defensive booth for the Cougs. Maybe he's finally getting it together. He had some different pieces. He had some injuries on the defensive line that have to adjust how they're going to create pressure. Maybe he's figured it out. So I think this is a good play. And when you look at their remaining schedule as well, there's not a team there that scares you. So Houston, in terms of a momentum standpoint and confidence, I think they clearly have it. My only concern is, betting on Dana Holgerson. But if I'm going ahead and firing away with moneyline underdogs of touchdown or more, then you're more than likely to break out some quarterbacks who've been, or some coaches, I should say, who are kind of on betting probation for us. They're not quite in podcast prison, but Holgerson had done his worst through the first couple weeks of the season to earn himself into the doghouse.